Good evening, Paul.
Good evening. Thank you. Well, hello to everyone, and good evening from Salt Lake City, and good morning to you. And Porntip, congratulations on 30 years. Just fantastic, and over 1 million lives impacted. What a wonderful thing, and thank you for having me here this morning.
Thank you, Paul. Today, all the Thai leaders here would like to hear from you about the global perspective about leadership. I'm sure during the last few years, you also have chance to interact with many CEOs, leaders as global company. We would like to hear your perspective about what are the key challenges today for most of the leaders that you have talked to.
As you mentioned, we interact with leaders all over the world every day. And I don't know all of the challenges they have, but I can tell you some of the common ones that we're hearing right now from our clients. The first, I would say, and I imagine this is true for you all in Thailand as well, is that largely because of the pandemic that we've been through, we hear from our clients that they feel like the nature of work has changed, the nature of the workforce has changed, and the nature of the workplace has changed. Let me explain a little bit about what I mean by that. Work today it looks very different than work used to look. Companies are transforming rapidly, more rapidly than ever before. There's a big drive to become more digital. Many companies' strategies are dependent on them becoming more and more digital. What's required to that? Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's the way that we do our work, the way we engage with customers. That seems to be ever changing, and it changed a lot in this last couple of years during the pandemic. The nature of the workforce is changing. This is a time now when there are multiple generations in the workforce all at one time, and those generations have very different expectations, each of them, about what it looks like to have loyalty to your employer, what kind of loyalty you expect coming back to the employee. They have expectations around what the environment should be like that they work in. And so the workforce is changing and changing very rapidly. And then the workplace, of course, the pandemic sent many people to work from home around the world. And organizations now are wrestling with trying to understand, does everybody come back to the office? Do people work from home? Is there some type of a hybrid environment? And I think many organizations are trying to understand what the future of the workplace is going to look like. So that's the first thing that we're hearing from clients all over the world, is they're trying to navigate the changing nature of those three things. The second thing we've been hearing this for quite a while now. And I know, in fact, I remember coming over and going to visit a few clients with you a few years ago. And this next topic was something that was on their minds even then, and it still is, I believe, today. But it's this move to become digital first as organizations, the digitization of everything. We're not there yet. Organizations continue to work towards that. And I think what our clients are recognizing is that actually the technology required and the technical changes aren't the most difficult ones. You can figure out what technology you need to move the organization forward. The more difficult part is getting all of the people in the organization to change the way they work, to change the way they interact with technology, to be willing to change processes that used to work well and that they're comfortable with, and to adopt new ways of working and new processes in this new digital age. And so it turns out that getting the culture ready to capitalize on the digital transformation is maybe the more important and more difficult thing. And we see that our clients are asking themselves that question and how they can do that even more effectively all the time. A third thing we see all over the world is as the world becomes more complex, the challenges that different societies around the world face, the political landscape around the world, many executive teams and boards are asking themselves, how do we balance the needs of all of our different constituencies and also not get should we be agents for social change? Should we be involved in the political process, or should we just focus on serving our customers and serving our employees? And there's quite a bit of tension we find, and it varies a little bit country to country. But what is the role of the organization in these modern days as it relates to bringing about social change, helping with climate change, helping employees come with very different political opinions, and customers have very different political opinions, and how does the organization navigate those waters effectively is one we hear a lot. Maybe just one more.
Great.
The globalization of everything. And I know that I believe this is a particularly timely one for you all in Thailand, as you have developed very large and successful local businesses in your country, now looking for growth opportunities outside of the country. And what does it look like to be a player on the global stage? And what needs to change, and how do leaders need to be prepared to lead in the business across multiple cultures, multiple countries, very different expectations from country to country. And of course, all of these are being wrestled with today in what could be, a bit of a slowing economy, maybe. Many countries are many are experiencing high inflation, and many are talking about, will they dip into a recession? Certainly, probably some economic slowdowns on the horizon as well. So it's an exciting time to be a leader. It's a challenging time to be a leader, but it's a great time to be a leader too, because as leaders, we get to help our organizations navigate these and many other challenges.
Thank you, Paul. When I listening to you, I feel that the world is really a small world now. And this is also some of the challenges that we hear from our Thai leader here as well, because the future is so unpredictable and it's so exciting and challenging. What do you think some of the must quality for the future leaders to be able to lead their organization journey into the future?
We ask ourselves that question a lot as well. We're so dependent, even inside FranklinCovey, we're so dependent on our leaders to help us carry forth our strategy, to create the right type of culture. So it's a fantastic question. The challenge of being a leader, I think what I find is, on one hand, you need to balance the interests and the expectations of your employees, of your customers, of your culture. And on the other hand, you need to deliver results. We can create the most amazing environment, but if we don't deliver results, it doesn't matter. And on the flip side, if we deliver results, but we don't create the right environment, then that doesn't work long-term either.
Sure.
We were asked a number of years ago to participate in a research project with the Coca-Cola organization. And the Coca-Cola organization wanted to, on behalf of their clients, who are large grocery store chains, they wanted to understand what separated the top performing grocery store chains from the average grocery store chains. It turns out that the best performing organizations did four things. First, they won with all of their customers. So they enjoyed very high net promoter scores. The second, they won with their employees. They had very high employee net promoter scores. Third, of course, they had superior financial performance. They grew revenue and they grew profit. And then the fourth, the best performing organizations, they made a distinctive contribution. It turns out that their customers would miss them if they were gone. You didn't just walk into their store to buy groceries. You had an experience there that was different. It felt different. It was engaging, different than the average performing stores. And so to your question of what characteristics and skills do leaders need today? Leaders need to be multifaceted. They need to understand and know how to deliver results, but also in a way that will engage their customers, engage their employees, and with an eye towards creativity and thinking about how will we move the business forward in ways that'll be very meaningful, such that we can make a distinctive contribution. That's one thought. I had maybe two other thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the transformation that's happened at Microsoft. There's a gentleman at Microsoft who's the CEO today. His name is Satya Nadella. Maybe you all have heard, obviously, and read of him. But he has come in and completely transformed this organization. And people who have written about this transformation and who have studied what he's done, they boil down what he's done to one word, and the word is empathy. And what Satya is bringing to Microsoft is a culture, is a leadership style that is a style of empathy. And what that style looks like is he comes in recognizing that the genius and the great ideas are scattered throughout the organization, that everybody inside Microsoft has the potential to bring great ideas. And so he is unleashing and empowering people all across the organization at every level. A person who has empathy is a person who's curious. They don't pretend that they know all of the answers. And they're willing to be vulnerable. They're willing to admit that they don't know. And because they're willing to admit that, they can engage people around them who may know more than they know, and they can form much more complementary teams. And as he's bringing this new culture to Microsoft, they're generating tremendous results. Their innovation is up. Their customer satisfaction is higher. The way that the speed at which they're moving is faster. The level of trust and engagement is higher than it's been in many, many years, maybe higher than it's ever been. We think about those same characteristics. In fact, you mentioned in your introduction there that the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That was written, of course, by Stephen R. Covey, Dr. Stephen R. Covey, more than 30 years ago. His son, Stephen M. R. Covey, wrote another best-selling book called The Speed of Trust. And he recently authored his latest best-selling book called Trust and Inspire. Yeah. And the point he makes here is that the best leaders, the leaders who are going to be most effective going forward, won't be the leaders who lead in a top-down command and control way, where they say, you do what I tell you to do, or I have all the ideas and here's how we're going to do it. The best leaders will lead in a way that what Stephen calls trust and inspire leaders. They will extend trust, they will inspire, and they will unleash the organization to perform great things. And so I would say, as you think about characteristics, it's somebody who can gain the trust of their employees, inspire their employees, who can lead with empathy. And my last point on this particular question, sure. As you think about the skills and characteristics, I mentioned a minute ago that as companies, as information has become digitized and companies have access to a lot more information, and that information is available to leaders even down towards the front line in organizations, there's been a delayering that's been taking place. There are fewer levels of leadership inside most organizations now than there was a decade or 2 decades ago. In fact, at IBM, 20 years ago, there were, I think, 14 layers of management between the CEO and the frontline employee. Today, there are 7 or 8 layers of management between the CEO and the frontline employee. And they can do that because these frontline employees have access to so much more information. Here's the challenge, though. Those frontline employees now they're no longer just managing the work. They now need to have what we used to think of as more executive level leadership skills. Instead of just managing the work and managing people clocking in and clocking out and did they get their work done, these leaders need to be able to set context for the strategy. They need to be able to communicate well. They need to have executive presence. They need to be able to work cross-functionally with all kinds of other leaders. These are skills that we didn't used to think frontline leaders needed to have, but they need to have them today. They need to have these more senior leader skills and capabilities. And so we're finding that the best organizations are instilling these skills in their frontline leaders and leaders at all level. Empathy, trust, inspire, inspiration, and that they're driving these skills lower and lower down to the frontline leaders in the organization.
Wow. Paul, I really feel that this insight is very powerful. You remind us leaders, at the end, we still have to deliver result, right? But today, deliver result, we cannot do it alone ourselves, even just only at the senior executive levels. But the leadership at every level must have the quality of senior leader level at that quality, right? Because in the past, the hierarchy, the organization have a very high structures, right? But today, because we want speed, we want flexibility to respond to the need of the customer. So we want to be more customer-centric. So we are more closer to the customer, and the people who close to the customer's needs and understand their challenges is our frontline leaders. And you remind us that this group of the people are very critical today. And in the past, they're just managers. Yeah, we build them to be managers and just only implement what the policy from the top and then to the day-to-day. But today, we want engagement from our people as well. And thank you for Microsoft stories that remind us that there's a lot of potential in our organization that's still waiting for leader to unleash them. Yeah. Because sometimes we may complain that we have not enough resources, we have not enough people, but today, the people that we have, do our leaders have the skill to unleash those potentials and the asset that we have in the organizations. And in the past, because of the budget and the resources limitation, most of the leadership development cannot reach to the front line. So today, we have to think of a way that how to scale the leadership development for all the organizations, like Paul.
Yes, we do. And
yeah. And my next question in my mind now is that, okay, the future are more challenging. The more challenging the future, the more critical leadership qualities, right? And across the whole organization at every levels. How the leading organization around the world preparing their leaders for the future.
And as you just mentioned, it triggered a thought, that something you said just a second ago. I feel completely dependent on my first level leaders at FranklinCovey. We have a very clear strategy. It's tied directly to our mission. We know what we want to be able to accomplish, and we know that if we can accomplish it, it'll make all the difference for our company and for our clients. But what stands between me and us delivering on that strategy and accomplishing that mission and vision is our ability to get that deep into the minds and the hearts of our associates all over the world. And that's where these first level leaders are so critical. They're the ones every day, like you said, that are out spending time with our employees. They're spending time with our customers. Yes. They understand where our products work and where they need to change, and they need to be able to feed that information. And so you triggered that thought. Those first level leaders are so important. And I think that never has there been a time in the history of the world where employees at all levels are more equipped and prepared. The education levels have never been higher. People inside our companies have tremendous talent and capability. And a great leader can pull that out of people. They can harness that great potential that's there. But on the other hand, a poor leader can suppress it. A poor leader will keep that great potential bottled up and will prevent those employees from being able to bring their very best to work. And I think that is probably the number one skill leaders need to develop today, is how do you tap the talent? The talent that's greater today than it's ever been. How do you tap that and bring it to the fore? So your question, what are the best companies doing to develop those kinds of leaders? I have three suggestions, three things that we observe. First, they're very intentional about it. The best organizations know that their ability to develop leaders is critical to their ability to execute their strategy and achieve their mission and their vision. And so they're very intentional. They don't leave leadership development to chance. It's on the mind of the CEO. It's not just the job of learning and development or of human resources. The CEO and all key leaders see developing their leadership talent as a primary responsibility that they have. In the average organizations, the CEO says that's human resources job.
Yeah.
We'll let them deal with that and we'll run the business. But the best performing organizations, the leader sees it as his or her job. The second thing is the best organizations, they've put a formal process in place. They're very clear and intentional about what capabilities and skills do our leaders need to possess, and then what are the gaps between where they are today and where they need to be. It's okay, everyone has gaps. No one is perfect. It's fine that there is a gap, but what's the process that we're going to use to close that gap? And they're very intentional, and they have a formalized process, and they measure like crazy. They measure everything. And then the third is the best organizations, they're great at spotting talent. They know where their future leaders are in the organization. They identify them early, and they invest in them so that they can retain them. Your best performing employees want to move up and have career progression. And if they don't feel like they're going to do that with you, they're going to leave and go somewhere where they think they can. And it's easy to lose your best talent if they don't feel like and see that they have a career path and that the company is investing in them and is interested in their development and their progression. So they're intentional, they have a formal process, a measurable process, and they're really good at finding that talent early, investing in it, and retaining it.
Wow, I think this is very inspiring. I think it's also a very good insight for our Thai organizations here. Because sometimes we have these challenges by annual budget for people development. Paul. We always limited by that, Every year there's a budget for people development, and we just do according to the budget that's given to the HR, right? So, but today you give us another perspective that people culture development is one of the key strategy at the top level, at the C-suite levels. And that should be a long-term journey. It's not an annual budget kind of things, right? And because we have that long-term vision about people and culture development, it makes it more consistency and continuity of that. So we don't leave it by chance that we will have enough good people in the organization, but it's you talk about intentionally designed to have that, right? And if intentionally built from within, I still truly believe the leader will have more passion and commitment and understanding about the company's histories and all that. So now today I am going to ask how FranklinCovey prepare ourselves to be the trusted partner to help organizations around the world in 160 over countries develop and prepare their future leaders.
First, I would say everything we do as an organization, all of our investments, we spend millions and millions of dollars every year investing in solutions to these problems. We really focus in 4 key areas. We're focused on helping create great leaders inside organizations. We've talked a lot about that here this morning. We also know that those leaders need to be able to lead very effective individuals. So we do a lot of work in helping the individual contributors throughout the organization develop the habits and skills that they need to do their jobs more effectively. A third area is helping organizations establish cultures where everyone feels they can bring their best self to work. They can lend their best talents and capabilities in an environment that's high trust, it's collaborative. And then the fourth area is helping organizations execute their strategy. And so in those 4 areas, leadership, individual effectiveness, culture, and execution, we spend all of our time and energy thinking about how do we build solutions that can stand the test of time, that are principle based, that help leaders and employees adopt the right mindset, because so much of it starts with your mindset, right? Once you see a problem or an opportunity clearly, then you can do the behaviors necessary, and we support those behaviors with the right tools. And so we're thinking all the time, how do we make sure our solutions cause these mindsets to shift, support behavior change, bring tools to people to help them in the flow of their work get done what they need to get done. And so everything we're doing is focused in those areas. What I think is kind of magical about what we do is we find that every organization we go into, and this is true of your organizations as well, inside every organization are people who are exceptional leaders or teams that are exceptional teams that deliver results better than the average. We call these pockets of greatness. There are pockets of greatness scattered all over your organization. There's the customer service representative who has higher satisfaction scores than anyone else. There's the salesperson who achieves their quota by more than anyone else. So the challenge for organizations is not that they don't have examples of great performance. The challenge is they have too few of those. The average does not look like those great performers. And so we get invited in to help to help our clients understand, where are your pockets of greatness? Why are they pockets of greatness? What are those people or what are those teams doing that are different from what everybody else is doing? And then we get to apply our solutions and tools to help move everybody else towards the behavior and the results that those top performers are achieving. It turns out that that's actually where the greatest performance improvement is for most organizations. We often as leaders think, well, if we're not getting the results we want, we better change our strategy. Usually the strategy is just fine. The challenge is the execution of the strategy is not what it needs to be. Too few people are actually executing the strategy effectively. And so rather than continually changing the strategy, we just need to get people's behavior to change at a greater scale so that the strategy can be executed.
Thank you, Paul. I think we feel so honored and we are so lucky to be part of FranklinCovey's family for the last 22 years. And we really see FranklinCovey keep on, listening to the customers, understand their challenges, and we are a very focused company. We only focus at the thing that we believe we can do the best and make the greatest impact in our clients' organization. And we try to do the area that we chose, that 4 area that you say about, to be the best. And we appreciate so much for all the tools and the contents that FranklinCovey provide us to help our organization here in Thailand. So Paul, maybe we still have another 2 minutes left. What will be your last word for our Thai audience here?
Well, I have 2 things I want to say. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's such a delight to be here with you all. The second thing I want to say is Porntip, we are so grateful for you and for the entire PacRim organization. I can't believe it's been 22 years that we've been partnered together. The work that you do is incredible. The results that you're helping your clients achieve, they're second to none. We trust you. We appreciate you. We would not be able to achieve our mission of enabling greatness in people and organizations everywhere if we didn't have a partner like you in Thailand, impacting more than 1 million people and so many organizations over the years. So we love you. We appreciate you. We congratulate you. We honor you. And I hope you have just a wonderful rest of your day here today.
Thank you so much, Paul.